Okay, hello Cloud Gurus, and welcome to this lecture. In this lecture, you're going to learn about AWS and the history of AWS so far. So Andy Jassy is the head of AWS, he's the SVP of AWS, and he said that invention requires two things. One, the ability to try a lot of experiments, and two, not having to live with the collateral damage of failed experiments. And that's the great thing about AWS is that you pay for what you use and you're not locked into any long-term contracts by default. So you can go out and experiment with things like EC2, with S3, with all of the different services with AWS. And if you're done and you found that it doesn't work for you or that it's not cost effective, you can just cancel and not use it again and you won't be billed for it again. Now, traditionally in IT, when you went to cloud computing, you'd be allocated physical servers and you'd be under contract for those servers for between 2 to 3 or even up to 5 years. So if you outgrew those servers or that those servers weren't a right fit for your application, you were stuck with them. Now, the great thing about AWS is that there's no long-term contracts, you pay for what you use, and you can stop using resources at any time. So let's talk about a brief timeline of AWS and how it got to where it is today. So in 2003, Chris Pinkman and Benjamin Black presented a paper on what Amazon's own internal infrastructure should look like, and then they suggested selling it as a service and they prepared a business case for it. So Jeff Bezos reviewed that business case and he thought that it had merit and he approved it. And so then SQS was launched in 2004, and you can actually read the announcement of that SQS launch in Jeff Barr's blog. Jeff Barr, for those of you that don't know, is an evangelist at AWS. And every time AWS announce a new service, a new product, or even a new region, it's usually announced via Jeff Barr's blog. So Jeff Barr's blog is essential reading if you want to keep up to date with AWS. AWS then officially launched as a platform in 2006, and by 2007 it had over 180,000 developers on the platform. And really that's how they started to capture the market. They made it really easy to develop on, and the fact that you had no contracts to sign. A lot of developers went on to AWS, people like Airbnb, people like Uber, people like Netflix, and essentially as those businesses became very successful, so did AWS. So they really went in at a grassroots approach. In 2010, all of Amazon.com moved over to AWS, and by 2012, they had the first reInvent conference, which was in Las Vegas. So for those of you that don't know, reInvent is the main AWS event of the year, and essentially it's held towards the end of the year, and they announce all the new products and services that are going to be available throughout the following year. So it's a fantastic event. It's held in Las Vegas every year, typically at the Venetian. I am there every year, so if you do want to come and meet me, come to reInvent. I'll be there in 2016. In 2016, it's happening quite late in the year. It's at the end of November, beginning of December, but I will be there if you want to meet up. In 2013, Amazon released their first certifications. So they released the associate level certificate, starting with the Solutions Architect Associate. Then there was the Developer and the SysOps Administrator Associate. They then launched the Professional certificates a bit later. So you have the Solutions Architect Professional certificate. And then at the end of last year, they launched the DevOps Pro certificate. And they may well launch new certificates in 2016. They tend to add new certificates every year, so watch this space. In 2014, Amazon was committed to achieving 100% renewable energy usage for its global footprint, which I always thought was very interesting. And by 2015, AWS broke out its revenue from the Amazon.com group and revealed that they were taking in $6 billion per annum and growing close to 90% year on year. And this is pretty much one of the largest and fastest growing technology companies on the planet. And if you want to see something cool, type in Amazon share price into Google and just view the entire share price since Amazon first started trading, and you'll see that it's basically starting to grow at an exponential rate. So if you do have some spare money, I recommend buying Amazon.com stock. And just to put some numbers on how fast the platform is growing, in 2011 they had 82 new service announcements or updates. In 2012 they had 159. In 2013 they had 280. In 2014 they had 516. And currently for 2015 we're on track for 700 or more. I'll actually update this slide once the final number is out, but it is essentially growing at an exponential rate. And because it's growing so fast, it can be hard to keep up with all the technology. A lot of people used to go and do computer science degrees, which would take 4 years. At the rate at which Amazon's growing now, a computer science degree is becoming less and less relevant. Actually, what you want to do, in my opinion, is get Amazon certified and keep up to date with the platform as best you can. At acloud.guru, we are trying to fulfill this need, so we are having courses on every single icon in the Amazon console, and they're produced by people all over the world who will keep that content up to date. So if you really do want to learn AWS inside out, make sure you check out our platform. Okay, so this is Gartner's Magic Quadrant, and it's used to evaluate people within cloud computing. It's really famous within the IT industry. So on your y-axis, you've got your ability to execute, and on your x-axis, you've got completeness of vision, and then it separates it into 4 different quadrants. So you've got challengers, you've got leaders, you've got niche players, and you've got visionaries. And now all these companies move around. So in May of 2015, AWS was named as the leader in the infrastructure as a service Magic Quadrant for the 5th consecutive year in a row. They're then followed by Microsoft, which is then followed by Google. You then have CenturyLink, VMware, IBM, followed by Rackspace, followed by Verizon, Virtustream, etc. So all these players move around. What's important to note is AWS is always winning. They're always considered the leader in infrastructure as a service. And Gartner actually did some analysis in 2015. They released a statement saying that if you add up the compute capacity of all public clouds around the world, Amazon makes up 90% of the compute capacity. They're then followed by Microsoft, which makes up the next 5%, and then all the other competitors combined make up the last 5%. So this is Google, CenturyLink, Rackspace, VMware, etc. So Amazon are totally dominating the market right now. Microsoft definitely have a place to play in the arena, and in my opinion there will always be at least 2 public clouds. It won't always just be Amazon. It'll probably be a combination of Amazon and Microsoft, but I think a lot of the other cloud providers are going to have extreme challenges in meeting both the number of data centers that AWS themselves provide around the world, as well as the number of features and the whole functionality. So Amazon Web Services is definitely by far the best platform to learn if you're interested in cloud computing. It's the one with the most jobs, it's the one with the most customers, and it's the place that is most in demand right now. So that's it for this lecture, guys. If you have any questions, please let me know. If not, feel free to move on to the next lecture. Thank you.